Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio. Today we're going to check out the Biamp 1283, which is a small mixing console, probably designed for live sound or band rehearsal spaces, but it does have a built-in spring reverb. So I thought we'd check it out in this video. There wasn't much space left in the main studio, so I kind of took over the hallway to film this Biamp 1283 mixer today. I'm even going to run some tracks through the line inputs. Here's the top panel of the Biamp 1283 mixing console. We've got 12 input channels. Each of the channels has a trim control. It has an effects send and a monitor send, a 3-band EQ, and a pan that pans between sub 1 and 2. And then of course the fader, which these appear to be 60mm faders. Over here in the master section you've got, it's labeled sub 1 and sub 2, but the LEDs are for main and monitor. And there's no way to switch to show the levels of sub 1 and 2 instead of main or monitor, at least not that I can tell. Then you've got a subs return pan right here that you can pan that sub return input on the back from sub 1 to sub 2. Then you have a mains return pan that pans from main to monitor. You've got subs return level right here, mains return level there, effects return level here, the reverb pan from main to monitor, and no, you cannot add the reverb to the subgroups, so it makes it a little bit difficult to do any kind of summing with this. I mean, you can sum pretty easily with this to sub 1 and 2, use that like a stereo bus, but then you can't add the internal spring reverb to it because this only will go to either main or monitor. So I guess what you'd have to do is use this as an external reverb with a different mixer or on a send from your DAW, something like that. And of course you've got your sub 1 and 2 level, main and monitor level on faders down here, and a power switch. Let's take a look at the back of the Biamp 1283. We've got 12 input channels. Each channel has a low Z microphone input on XLR. It has a 1/4-inch line input, which by the way, these plastic 1/4-inch jacks on this console can get very brittle. In fact, I broke one here on channel 7, so I had to skip a channel. And then you got an insert patch point here. Over here in the master section, you got the effects return and a subs return, mains return, then the monitor stack, which would be an additional input for the monitor side of this, an effects stack, an effects send, and then you've got monitor out, main out, and then sub 1 and sub 2 outputs. So it's pretty basic as far as the connections you get. This would be good for, a bar band or for band practice or rehearsal room. Although you could use the mic preamps by using an insert cable. I don't think you could control the level with the fader, but you could use the preamps in this by using a patch cable. But we don't have phantom power, so you'd be limited to dynamic mics. And I believe these preamps probably only have about 60 dB of gain, so you'd also be limited to ribbon mics that are active or using something like a cloud lifter if you wanted to use a ribbon mic with these preamps. The mic preamps don't have any input transformers. As far as I can tell, there are no transformers in the signal path of this little mixer. It does have a TLO72 IC on all the channels and does have a real spring reverb tank, which appears to be, or sounds like, that it's very well dampened and very well behaved. A fairly basic complement of inputs and outputs on the back of the Biamp 1283 mixing console. reverb on this thing's pretty impressive. It's really, the EQ's kind of good, really mild. The reverb's really good for a spring reverb. I think that sounds great. Wonder if you could rack this up and just use it for the spring reverb, and then you'd have EQ on the input to your reverb right here, 3-band EQ. So that's kind of the most useful thing, unless you just wanted to sum through it. It's a fairly basic little mixer, but the sound quality is good, and the built-in spring reverb actually sounds excellent. It's a fairly basic, but really quiet mixer. The built-in spring reverb actually sounds excellent. It's not over the top and too boingy. It's nice and smooth. So I really do like the built-in spring reverb on this Biamp 1283. The plastic 1/4-inch jacks on this Biamp 1283 are about the only negative point, other than the simplicity and the fact that you really don't have a stereo bus. You do have 2 subgroups, so you can pan back and forth if you use the sub outs, but then you can't add the reverb to the subgroups. The reverb can only be added to the main mix or the monitor mix. So the only way to get the reverb would be out of the main mix, and if you're using this for summing, it's going to be kind of tricky to get the spring reverb into the mix. I didn't test out the mic preamps in this video because that requires additional setup, and I already took over the haul here just to test it out this far. So if you're interested in hearing the mic preamps in this Biamp 1283 in a future video, or you're interested in any of the other details other than what I've gone over in this video, please leave a comment below. I appreciate everyone for watching my videos. Thanks so much to all the new subscribers. I hope each and every one of you has an excellent and wonderful day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one. Thanks so much for watching.